Hello, princess. My name is Alex. Let's get into the video. Fear. Fe'ir is derived from the Swahili word kinyesi, which loosely translates to ew. What the fuck is that? Get it away from me, I'm scared. So today, I'll be talking about 3 more movies that made me feel a little kinyesi. Maybe even a little kinyesi in my pants.
I just did a boom boom.
But like all good sequels, I will be keeping the same formula as last time, but with a little bit of a fresh twist. 2 of these movies are actually first time watches for me, and one of them I'm almost certain absolutely traumatized me as a child. So make sure to stick around to the end. And another thing before we get into the video, leave a comment for a movie that genuinely scared you. And if I get enough suggestions, I'll make a part 3 of this just off viewer suggested horror films. So a movie you suggest could be featured in the next video. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy part 2 of movies that actually scared me. Boom, 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 boom. For the first movie, we must set sail to the land of the rising sun, the home of sushi and anime.
Hentai too.
And of course, the horror classic, The Grudge.
You realize your darkest hour has only just begun. The Grudge.
A mysterious and vengeful spirit marks and pursues anyone who enters its home where it resides. Now that sounds spooky if you ask me. Now give me some grace on this, I'm gonna read from the page. Directed by Takashi Shimizu, starring Megumi Okina, Masaki Ito, and Misa Uhara. Misa get Uhara sometimes too. For context on this movie, one of the kind viewers of one of my videos suggested I should watch this movie. I don't remember your name, kind Ronin, and I can't be bothered looking it up, but what I can do is say,
ありがとうございます。
I think I nailed that. And this movie has genuinely been on my watch list for a very long time, so when I got this suggested to me, I was genuinely excited to finally strike this one off the watch list. Hey! Don't... Alex, that's bad. Naughty boy.
Bad ape.
10 lashes for the naughty boy. And being a movie that is not in my native tongue, I did have to really lock in for this one to obviously read the subtitles. And yes, I can read.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
And thank God I did, because this movie is a little bit confusing. I did genuinely enjoy this one, and I don't know about you guys, but I always enjoy going back to a movie that has inspired and had so much impact on the film industry as a whole. There's so many scenes and scares and shots that I feel have been replicated a lot since its release, and it's great to be like, oh, this is where that came from in that other movie. I can't think of an example right now because I'm not great on the spot. But now what you clicked on the video for, the scares. And of course to see little Gregory over here. How you doing, Gregory? That's great. Overall, The Grudge does provide some genuinely really good scares and horror imagery, and its creature design for the ghostesses was also top notch. But this movie's greatest strength is also its biggest weakness, a little bit like Cans of White Monster for me. I know it's doing me a great service by giving me motivation and the drive to get up in the morning, but ultimately it will lead to a heart condition that will take me out. Worth it, it's delicious. But what I mean by that is the sound design and sound effects and the music at times are absolutely fantastic and really do provide a lot in ramping up the tension for some genuinely really spooky and eerie scenes in this movie. On the flip side of that, there are moments in this movie that I believe are genuinely supposed to be scary if they weren't ruined by the music. My God, some of it felt so out of place at times. And I want to say maybe it's because, you know, this movie was released in 2002, but I can't really think of a movie that came out in the 2000s that music felt so out of place and so dated, especially in a horror film. There's a particular scene in this movie that I wrote down as an example. It would probably genuinely be one of the best scares in the entire movie if the music didn't ruin it. It involves one of our characters in bed and this bitch shows up. Not what you want to find when you look under the covers. Usually I'm just looking to see if all my trotters are there. We're going well so far, none have fallen off. But the movie builds really well to this scare, but then out of nowhere it genuinely sounds like someone is jamming out on a xylophone in the corner of the room or something. And you might be thinking, Alex, how bad could it be? Well, for example, imagine you're watching The Conjuring and we're getting to the scene with the spooky witch girl on top of the cupboard, you know, when she jumps off and goes, ah, which I believe is one of the best scares in that entire movie. Just imagine that, but in instead of the scary music that ramps up and crescendos at the right moment, you just had a guy in the corner absolutely smacking the fuck out of some bongos, like a schizophrenic person bashing their head against a wall because the voices are getting too loud. Which is a shame because overall this movie is genuinely good. It's a well-made, well-shot, well-written film. I just think maybe some moments haven't aged super well and it wasn't as scary as I believed it could have been. And unfortunately for this movie, and it's not its fault at all, I have seen Scary Movie 4 a few times, and if anyone's seen Scary Movie 4, they know the scene I'm exactly talking about, but I'll put it here.
Hibachi Benihana Teriyaki.
Nagasaki, Okinawa, Hokkaido, Yokohama.
Karate Judo Sumo Samurai.
Nissan, Honda, Mitsubishi, Subaru.
Harikari Tsunami. Kamikaze Banzai.
Like I mentioned, genuinely one of the funniest scenes in the Scary Movie franchise. I couldn't help but just think of that every time the little ghost boy showed up. You know, it's not this movie's fault. I won't take points away from it because there's a funny scene in a funny movie, but I just had to mention it. And I will give it some more credit. There was a section of this movie where I was watching it. My little angel doggy decided to sneak up behind me and boop me on the back of the arm with his cold, wet nose, and it scared the fuck out of me.
What are you doing?
Overall, once again, I'm really glad I watched this movie. It is a classic horror film. It is one of the most talked about and revered and loved horror films of all time. It really opened the door for a lot of foreign films and a lot of foreign horror films where, as a lot of you horror fans will know, some of the best movies in the genre come out of Japan and Korea and Europe. This is definitely a movie that will provide some scares. It is a little dated, but if you're a massive horror fan, do your pilgrimage and watch The Grudge. For the next movie, I used the trusty Google machine. I googled scary movies and a movie popped up that I've actively been avoiding, like it's an 80-year-old woman in the shopping center car park trying to put her groceries in the back of a car. Ethel, you've had 80 years to get stronger. Don't make it my problem because you never went to the gym. Why should I be punished for your mistakes? But movie number 2 is Possum.
Waking up, is it? Wants to get out.
Genuinely what my girlfriend sees every morning when she wakes up. I just like to make sure she's still breathing. After returning home, a disgraced children's puppeteer must face his wicked stepfather and the secrets that have tortured his entire life. By the way, when I said wicked, think Albert Fish wicked, not drinking a couple of beers while you watch monster trucks crush cars wicked.
Holy shit!
Bobby, stop! Bobby, stop!
Do not move! Do not move!
Directed by Matthew Holness, I think there might be a wholeness in his heart because this is a depressing movie.
Clever girl.
And starring Sean Harris, who you probably would recognize mostly from the Mission Impossible movies, and Alan Armstrong. Firstly, Possum is not your traditional horror film. It's what the kids are calling these days elevated horror, or what us Australians call artsy-fartsy. And yes, that is an actual thing we say. This movie is definitely not made for the brain-rotted Gen Alphas that may be watching this on their iPad right now. If you are, how about we stop drooling on the screen and wash your hands before you rub them all over that screen there, big boy. Don't get me wrong, this movie has some fantastic horror imagery. I know I'm using that slogan a lot, and like I mentioned in the intro to this, this guy has a puppet. I'll put it here. Yeah, that thing is fucking horrifying. Honestly, might be the most terrifying thing ever made. I think the ranking for horrifying things in this world might be number 1, furries, and then number 2, the puppet from Possum. There's also a couple of jump scares in this movie, mainly around the puppet, but the true horror of this movie lies within the conversations between Philip and Maurice. Every shudder, flinch, and twitch from Philip just adds more and more lore to an already outwardly despicable character like Maurice. This movie definitely doesn't hand the horror to you on a silver platter, and it genuinely benefits from you getting immersed and sucked into the story, and it does require a lot of your attention for it to be scary. And I am sort of like dancing around it, but this movie is genuinely a tough watch because of multiple reasons, but mainly because of the subject matter. Obviously, we're talking about a stepfather and a severely damaged stepson. You can probably fill in the gaps as to why that's happened.
He touched us here, and here, and here. The bumhole.
Just be mentally prepared before you go into this one. It does cover some pretty heavy subjects. The other reason it can be tough is if you don't buy into this movie early on and give it all of your attention, it can definitely be a bit slow. It may even feel like nothing's really happening. This movie pretty much requires you to be dissecting and analyzing every scene and taking note of the way Philip acts in certain situations to really uncover the true horror of this film. If you're in the mood for something that is deeply depressing and grim, this movie is definitely up your alley, and it will make you feel like you need to take a shower to wash it off you afterwards. It is a very icky film. But if you're in the mood for something a bit more traditional, supernatural, jump scary, a more straightforward, I want to say surface level horror film, this probably is not going to be one for you. But I do genuinely think if you're a horror fan, this is one worth checking out when you are in the mood for something a bit more full on. Now for the
Yeah. I'm man.
Now for the last movie, and I'm going to be honest because you know me, I'm always honest with you guys. I really did not want to watch this movie. And yes, when I watched this as a kid, I definitely was far too young to watch it, hence why I believe it may have actually traumatized me as a child. Yes, I was scared when I watched this, but the main thing that has always stopped me from going back and revisiting this film that I genuinely have like thought about a lot since I was a kid is I remember it being absolutely brutal and really fucking cruel. And I can safely say it's actually a lot worse than I remember. The movie is 2006's The Hills Have Eyes. Hey Paul, get the shotgun. When a family traveling to California is stranded in the middle of the desert and must fight for survival when a family of radioactive cannibals start to terrorize them. Their chances of survival are looking pretty bleak. Directed by Alexandre Aja, starring Ted Levine and Aaron Stanford, who is actually Pyro in the X-Men movie. Little fun fact for you. You can whip that one out in front of your friends to impress them. But be careful because I know when I whip it out sometimes in front of my friends, they're far from impressed. I will say the only real positive and shining light of this movie is early on the banter and relationship between the family. They are quite dysfunctional and they all have their little quirks, especially Bobby, who seemingly likes to point guns at people as a bit of a laugh. Bobby, that's not funny, you little freak.
Bang, bang, you're dead.
You're fucking
Pow,
happy.
pow, pow.
Stop, guys, stop fucking with the gun.
Pow, Jesus. I'm sorry. I'll just kill myself.
No,
But the banter and the laughs and the little digs at each other, it does feel like a realistic family and almost makes this movie worse because you buy into them actually genuinely caring about each other. Obviously what happens to them is not super chill, so don't get too attached to these guys. I will say surprisingly, at the 40-minute mark of this 1 hour and 40-minute film, I was getting a little bit bored. I was like, hang on, have I misremembered this movie? Is it actually like a fucking snooze fest? By minute 43 though, I was like, hang on, can I go back to that part where I was really bored and and just live in that space for a bit longer? Because my God, this movie is a tough fucking watch. And around this like 40-minute, 50-minute mark is where I had a bit of an epiphany. For a bit of context, for as long as I can remember, I've always really disliked gory movies. A lot of like Saw and like torture porn films for me, I just have no interest in watching. And if I do, I always just dislike them for that reason. Now after rewatching this one, a little light went off in my head and I was like, I think this is the first one of those kinds of movies I watched. And I'm pretty sure this film is why I fucking hate those kinds of movies. This movie genuinely put me off an entire subgenre of horror. I want to put an emphasis on needlessly because this movie is basically everything I hate in the horror genre. And the needless needlessly part is they do things to these characters that are abhorrent, like absolutely awful. And specifically the women in this movie, yeah, some really fucked shit. And I feel like there was no reason to do it. Where this plot goes, there was no real plot reason to do this other than to shock the audience. And yes, it may have been shocking, but it is just kind of fucking gross. And it made me feel a little bit ill. And if I'm being completely honest, once again, I probably would have turned this off if I wasn't watching this for a video. You know, the little monkey must dance for his audience. Maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of how unhappy this movie genuinely made me. And I want to make sure people know I'm not a prudish person. I know that's exactly what someone who is a prude would say, but you know, as a teenager, I explored the internet a lot. I used to scroll Best Gore and Live Leak and WorldStar like it was TikTok back in the day. You know, I've seen one guy, one jar, two guys, one hammer, one girl, one bathtub. I've seen the chainsaw or blunt knife video. I have seen the cartel burning cage video. Never bothered me. But this movie, for some reason, really is gross. I don't like it. Now, the number one question you guys are probably asking after all that whining I've just did. Alex, is this movie actually scary? Not in a traditional way. Did it make me want to run headfirst into a wall so I've forgotten that I watched this movie again? There he is! Absolutely. I think people are going to watch this who, because of how graphic and full on it is, it's going to be absolutely terrifying for you. I think there's going to be a big section of the audience who may go and watch this for the first time and be genuinely put off by how brutal it is. But this movie, you know, and this genre does have its fans. You know, there's people that you need to keep an eye on, like Terrifier fans. And The Hills Have Eyes is going for what it delivers, which is to be shocking, to be gory, to be brutal. As the great Borat would say, great success. But as the mediocre Alex Uploads here would say, not so fun. This movie is really dependent on what kind of movies you're into. If you can handle gore and really brutal scenery and imagery and heavy themes, once again, probably have a good time with this. I probably won't want to invite you to the family barbecue, but you know, you've got your own gang, you can hang out and torture small animals together or something. But that is 3 movies that actually scared me. If I get enough suggestions, I will make a part 3 of this just off user suggested movies. So something you put in the comments could be featured in the next video. But I want to thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I love you very much. Goodbye.